To Germany. Die Hühner sind nach Hause gekommen und zu schlafen. Don't worry, Michelle will translate that for you all later. When Angela Merkel recklessly threw open her country's borders and declared come one, come all to homeless migrants, she was hailed as a humanitarian hero. Now, weakened by elections and widely derided by many of her electorate, she's seen as a Dummkopf. In a total volte-face, how many languages in this? She has now set aside tens of millions of euros to bribe migrants with cash handouts to go back home. They get the loot to pay for new kitchens or bathrooms in their homelands. Risible, isn't it? Yeah. Fancy a new kitchen in Kabul? Here's a few thousand euros towards the cooker and maybe the fridge. This shows the lunacy of how Europe dealt with the migrant crisis. From being a land of total order, much of Germany is now riddled with unrest, and Chancellor Merkel is wholly responsible. Now, her nickname at home is Mutti. That's German for mother. Well, this was the mother and father of all errors. Oh, and by the way, the earlier sentence, it meant the chickens are coming home to roost.
Well, well done for your German.
Thank you. Oh, yes, I did it at quite high level.
Yeah, didn't agree with anything you said. But
you like the accent?
Yeah, like
yes.
the accent.
I like what he said in German.
Yeah.
No one else understood it either.
I like the fact that you've come in a European theme dressed as Inspector Clouseau in that Mac. I mean, I think it's really lovely.
Yeah, so I knew your topic. I totally disagree with you, and I think actually, I think that this is a bit of a PR exercise on Merkel's part. I think it's to deal with the rise of the far right in Germany. I think actually when Merkel took the decision that she made, it showed real leadership in that it was, let me finish, in that it was morally the right thing to do, but also long-term the right thing for Germany, because that first wave of immigrants were those that were from the educated classes. There were lots of doctors, scientists. There were. The people that could afford...
Not wholly Jew.
No, let me finish. The people that could afford to actually get on the boats and leave, that first wave, were a lot of those that were from the educated classes. And actually, I think what we'll see long-term is that there will be a skill shortage that will be filled by these communities. So I think on the surface, it seems like, oh, she was just doing the nice thing and being altruistic. But actually, long-term for the German economy, I think they'll benefit.
But just before I throw it out, bribing these folk, do you not think it's unfair for these people as well? Some of whom have traversed half the world to come to a country where clearly they're not that welcome much. So there's a few quid to go for Europe.
Let's see how many people actually take up the offer. I really think that this is a PR exercise.
Greg, do you think that the political problem in which she finds herself, that is she's still trying to put some form of government, and June rightly mentions the rise of the far right. She is the architect, to use the expression I used earlier, she's the architect of her misfortune with this policy, isn't she?
Yes, it doesn't mean the policy was wrong, but she is the architect of it, certainly.
So was the policy right?
Well, I think my son's lived in the Middle East for many years, and I often talk to him. A lot of the people who have gone to Germany, it's just like a lot of people who've gone, will want to go back. If there is sanity again in Libya, and if there's sanity again in Syria, then a lot of these people will want to go back. And if it means helping them to go back, that seems to me to be...
And a lot of them are highly educated, which is part of the reason why they would.
The other thing is that what she knew about Germany, of course, is that it's not replacing its population, and that therefore they needed young... I mean, all Western societies need more young people. If they're going to pay your pension, Nick... Yeah. You need more young people. Now, actually, one of the few that doesn't is this country. We've got a younger population, but if you go to Germany, you go to Italy, these are places where they needed young people. Now, the way I think the whole problem of what happened over those 2 summers was that none of us knew how to cope with movement of numbers on that scale.
And can I just add to that? I think that Merkel was prepared to fall on her sword to do what was right for Germany. And I think long-term, we will see that she was right.
Well, why is she working like a Trojan now, trying to prop up her
Because you've got a rise of the far right. You know why she's doing that.
She's fueled the rise.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. She was prepared to fall on her sword to do what was right for that country. And we'll see.
I want to bring Michelle, because I know
you've
got a head for figures, and you wonder why Germans are getting angry, right? Imagine you're a German taxpayer. Berlin set aside 685 million euros for accommodation for unaccompanied minors, integration programmes, yada, 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 language lessons. They spent 1.3 billion euros, virtually double. Taxpayers are going to get angry when they see money going that way, aren't they, Michelle?
Of course, but I think that, and I've said this previously, I think what Angela Merkel did was completely wrong. I understand that she might have had good intentions. I understand that she might have been trying to make up for ills of days gone by or whatever her motives were. But I think the way that she handled that situation was... there's no, I don't know, I've got very strong words for it, but they're not appropriate for a TV show.
Well, it's criminally irresponsible if you're leading the German people and you see the reaction it's had, and they are now divided towns and cities.
It's completely wrong. And when you know, she didn't have consideration for any other country for which the migrant population would be able to freely go into. She didn't have any consideration for the fact that actually these are very war-torn, conflict-ridden places that people were actually... Who were these people? There were no proper secure checks and balances of people coming in or not coming in. The whole thing was, in my view, terrible.
Let's get Rachel. We'll come back.
I think it's really hard to see what was the right thing to do when Syria conflict displaced, what was it, 5 million people?
Well, they never did get the right.
Germany is a first world country that could have has now given a home to 700,000
But it's trying
people.
to tempt them back. This is
now,
insane.
and now you're now attacking her for offering them money to return to their country, which is completely devastated. Obviously, I think what we need to have is a European-wide Marshall Plan, which doesn't mean that one country is responsible for doing all these things.
Burden,
the EU has allocated, numbers of asylum seekers and desperate migrants to be taken in, and none of the countries are stepping up to the plate.
We certainly didn't.
We're not even in the asylum agreement in the EU, so it's terribly unfair to dump this on Germany and particularly to dump it on
bring it on themselves.
Well, but a lot of people had left places like Syria and gone to places like... So a lot of people had left places like Syria and gone to places like Turkey, so they were out of that...
Well, the majority of them were in Jordan.
War-torn, but they were out of that immediate war-torn danger. They weren't, immediately had risk to their life, and I think what we did...
Yes, and we were paying Turkey, remember, to keep them there in order for them not to travel into Europe.
We encouraged that mass... It was the biggest population shift since World War II or something, if I remember. But we encouraged that. Yes. We encouraged people to endanger their own lives.
Well, she did by saying open door policy.
And that's my point, that was wrong.
But what we did wasn't very nice. Do you remember Theresa May's Home Office bans that just said go home? I mean, I prefer to have a kitchen in Syria. At least that she's being kind.
She didn't just say go home. She said if you're here illegally...
Go home. White vans used to patrol neighbourhoods.
Yeah, but then you shouldn't be in a country illegally.
That's upholding the law. Anyway, great.
But wouldn't you... wasn't it a humanitarian gesture where she actually said, and she might have been politically wrong, and she was politically wrong.
We can agree that.
But it was a humanitarian gesture that said there is a real humanitarian problem, and we, as the richest country...
paid for by the German people.
We, as the richest country in Europe, we can help solve it.
I did say I'm sure her intentions were good.
Yes.
I'm sure she had good intentions, but she shouldn't have done what she did. That will always be my view.
But shouldn't sometimes politicians do what they think is right as opposed to necessarily what they think is popular?
But you've also got to listen to
and then you bring the far right, and that was the right thing to do. Greg June, seriously?
No, my point is she showed... my point is she showed real leadership on this issue, far more than any other European leader. And also, actually, whenever you have a wave of mass immigration, there is always uproar from the... native
but
population.
Rarely you bribe them to go home with a kitchen.
When you had the Windrush population...
Yes, again, we didn't bribe these folk to go home.
People were up in arms. Most British people didn't want those immigrants here. But long term, it's actually been good for the British economy. Yes, but we didn't try and bribe them with kitchens to go home. That's not the point. So my point is, long term, this is going to be good for Germany, and we will see. We'll wish we did something similar.
We shall see.
Recht vielen Dank, Michelle.
We shall see. And it's the